on my makeup. Why do you always wear makeup to work? I always wear makeup. Yeah, but you're going to work. Yeah. I've worn makeup ever since I could aim it straight on my face. It makes me feel good. But you're just going to work. Yeah, I wear it wherever I go. Whenever I go out, I just put it on. It's just me. You washed your hair today. Yeah, I needed washing. Why, do you like it? Well, I don't know why you wash it specially today. It wasn't special today. No. You're wearing perfume. I know, do you like it? Yeah, I love perfume. Do you like perfume? Do you like it when I wear perfume? I just love perfume. You're all dressed up today. No, nothing special, but you know, I'm the office manager in the company, so I need to look professional. I like to look professional. Drip, drip, drip. Just like water on a stone. That's the thing with an emotional abuse. It didn't start that way. Oh no. I moved house and I moved to a new area. It was a really pretty area in West Sussex. So I didn't really know anyone. I'd got a brand new job and it was quite responsible, as I say, office manager, and I had to learn the ropes. So I found that people around were quite friendly, and he was one of them. And I learned that several years before, his wife had died from breast cancer. And yeah, I get it, because I too had breast cancer. I'd survived it. I was lucky. I was one of the lucky ones. But it still left that feeling inside me that I wasn't quite good enough. No one would really want me anymore. I wasn't really that woman. I used to love my breasts, and now I only had the one. Anyway, so yeah, he was quite friendly, and so I got it. I got why he was so sad, because he'd identify with me. He knew the journey I'd been on, you know, the surgery, the treatment, which are pretty horrendous, and sadly he'd lost his wife, and they'd been married forever. So he offered to do some odd jobs for me. Oh, that was really sweet. How kind of you. And then it went on, and he said, Laura, let's go for a walk. We went for a walk and talked, and yeah, he'd do more jobs. Then he'd do one job inside the house, and I said, can I have my key back? Well, I was just going to do just that one thing. I just want to finish that off. Okay. I'd really like my key back now. Wow, why? Was there a problem? Well, no, but, well, I'm just finishing off that for you. Okay. And then I come home and he was there. And he was doing things. He'd made a meal. Oh, God, that's really kind of you. That's really sweet of you, thank you. But... And so I'd ask him if I could have my key, but then he just kept being there all the time. And why didn't I say no then? Why did I just allow it? Well, yeah, why do I, like other intelligent women, why do we allow it? Why do we get into relationships like this? Why don't we stand up for ourselves? How the hell does it happen? I ask myself that 1,000,000 times. And I know the reasons why. I was lonely. I didn't think anybody else would want me. And there were times when he was really good company. He'd make me laugh. He was so funny at times. We'd do the craziest things together, you know, climbing through bushes and woods and places, you know, kind of all sorts of things that you wouldn't do normally. Just, well, not as a grown person. Tobogganing down the hill when it was snowing. Just fun. But there was that other side that wasn't so nice. That questioning of why, what I was wearing, where I was going. Questioning my friends. I don't like her. She's too flighty. Well, she's flighty. Maybe she is, but you know, that's not me. Yeah, but she's going to turn you. I know she's going to have an influence on you. I'm a grown woman. No. But then it would turn into arguments. He'd turn nasty. And the arguments would start. And he'd bang his fist on the door. He never touched me. He said, I'll never touch you. I'd never touch a woman. But I didn't. That wasn't it. The bruises couldn't be seen. They were there. All those wounds were there. I felt like I'd been kicked and punched and beaten senseless at times. And then he'd come back and he'd say, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it. You know I love you. I really care about you. I'm just worried. I don't want to lose you. And just like every woman who's been physically abused and emotionally abused, I believed him. I'd give him another chance. Why? And if I didn't allow it, if I just stood my ground, he'd be hammering on the door, shouting through the letterbox, leaving me notes. He just wouldn't leave me alone. His son even used to follow me if I ever went into the local town on my own, which was very, very rarely. I'd see his son driving up and down the high street, watching me. And when I said this to him, you know, why was he in town? He following me? I don't know anything about it, really. And then the threats would come. He had this friend, Mick. Didn't like him. Yeah, apparently he used to deal drugs. That was one thing I would not have in my life. No. Turns out he was a bit of a gangster type. I mean, that sounds a bit dramatic, but he seemed to rule the area. I didn't like this. This just made me feel really uncomfortable. And the threats then came, you know, if I ever leave you, if you ever leave me, there's always Mick. He might just do something to your family. I know where they live. Those threats, they weren't real out and out threats, but they were veiled threats. You know what Mick did? And he'd tell me this horrendous story about some kind of abuse that had happened, some kind of beating, some kind of nasty things that would happen. And I started getting really, really scared, because if I left him, what might happen to me or my children, my grandchildren, my babies? And I was just absolutely I couldn't think straight. I had this job where I had to prove what I was doing was right, and it was an American company that kept pushing and pushing more and more work onto us. And so I was having to try and manage my team and ask them, look, we've been asked to do this now, and they're demanding this. and I was responsible for producing the accounts every month, and then they'd want more figures and they want them sooner. And because I was new, I didn't know how to say no. That's half my problem. I was a people pleaser. I'd gone into this relationship, into this job, into this situation, a people pleaser from a little one. It followed me in my life. Couldn't say no. I remember a time when we had invited friends over for a meal, my friends, and he sat there and told them how much he loved me and how much he cared. But there were things about me, that I didn't get, that I could try harder. And he was so well-meaning. I took his side. That broke my heart, that I had no one to turn to, because everybody saw him as a really nice guy. My kids did, because he'd be such this quiet, gentle man with them. And so it went on. And it became a point where I was actually fearful. It became a codependent relationship. Don't know if you know what that means, but I was fearful of what I was dependent on him. What if he left? I couldn't cope on my own. That was all because he'd been telling me that. He pumped it into me. The only times that he would ever really stop was when he would tell me about his childhood, and he'd had a miserable childhood. Awful. He'd been abused, and that was part of the reason he behaved in this way, but it didn't excuse his behaviour towards me. But if I started asking him and I would listen to him, then he'd be quite, he wouldn't pick on me, he'd back off. Stop bullying me. Then one day he said, you're so good at listening. Have you ever thought about being a counsellor? No, nothing that I had ever dreamt of. I mean, I just did accounting and finance and admin. I wasn't a people person. But he suggested it, and I thought maybe that'll please him. So I signed up. Best thing I ever did. Because every time I had tried to leave him, it hadn't worked. And this is really interesting, because one of the first things that we learned just a few weeks into this course it's called Carpan's Drama Triangle, and it talked about the victim, the persecutor and the rescuer. And I realised that we'd been playing this game round and round and round, and it had to stop. I had to step out of the game. And once I learned to step out of the game, we weren't playing that game anymore, and I told him I'm not playing. And eventually, although he got really angry and then very, very upset, he packed his bags and left. I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't. There were some horrendous things that happened. His friends would shout abuse at me in the street. He didn't. No, he was very careful. I'd find someone had spat on my car numerous times. When I looked for a solicitor, someone suggested this particular woman who she was fierce. Yeah, she's really good, but she's fierce. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want that solicitor. I don't want to be unkind to him. I don't want him to be annihilated. So I didn't. I went to someone else who was, she played by the rules. She really did, very much, did it by the book. Guess who his solicitor was? That fierce one, that fierce solicitor. And she was, boy, she really, really, really annihilated me in that whole process. It was horrendous. So even when I tried to do the right thing, it just backfired on me. But I knew that I'd played it right. I knew that I did the right thing. I knew that I hadn't been unkind. I walked away with my head held high, but it left me with scars. I had to move house because I was so fearful of what he or one of his sons might do, because there were threats there, veiled threats, as I said. I had to leave my job. I had to leave without any trail, or as little as possible. I spent the first few weeks, eventually when I moved, keeping all the blinds and curtains drawn. I was frightened to come in and out of the house in case somebody was around waiting for me. My confidence was rock bottom, and I had to rebuild that. But I did. I rebuilt had my confidence back. I finished my course. I qualified as a counsellor, psychotherapist. And for the past 15 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been helping others, whether it's in their relationships or whether it is about confidence or their anxiety. That's my passion now. I know that I can help other people, and that's what I want to do. That's what I love, because I know what it's like. I've been there, and I will never ever say I understand, because that's arrogant for me to tell someone I understand what you're going through, because I don't. Their experience could be very different from mine, but I will be there close to them as I can, to help guide them and support them, to help them get their life back. And you know what? Every one of us can do that. There is no reason to be in that situation. I know I'm not going to say there isn't any reason to be in an abused relationship. There is. On average, it takes 7 attempts for a woman to leave an abusive relationship. It's not. It takes courage, and I didn't have dependent children, but that even makes it harder. But I think it is about understanding ourselves and not allowing ourselves to get there in the first place, because it's drip, 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 that stone, that dripping water, it's just like that, wears away at that stone, just like that. So it is about knowing ourselves, valuing ourselves, learning how to say no, and building the strongest platform that we have to value ourselves and not be treated in that way and not feel that way about ourselves. So yeah, every one of you, it's possible.